mortgage markets, and more. I'm your host, Peter D'Angelo, and welcome to Monday, everybody. I hope you all had a wonderful weekend. We're going to dive right in. We've got your mortgage rate update for the week ahead in review of last week, and there was quite a bit that happened. I know we talked on Friday about the Fed's announcement, the monetary policy, what things are shaping out to be, and then there was also, as I mentioned on Friday's episode, what was being furnished on Friday. In addition to the Fed talking, we also had the U.S. Department of Labor statistics provide the figures for the current employment, job numbers, quit rates, things like that. We're going to dive into that because that turned out to be a bit of a market mover and has definitely helped to ease the increase in interest rates that we've been experiencing. So we're going to start off with the treasury market review like we do, because that shows us kind of and sets the stage for where things have gone with mortgage rates as we ended off last week. So first and foremost, the 10-year treasury yield was at 4.51% last week, and that is down from 4.67% the week prior. The 5-year treasury was at 4.49%, also down from 4.68% the week prior, and the 2-year treasury yield was at 4.81%, down from 4.98% the week prior. That movement downward in the yield, that is a little bit of an effect immediately that we're starting to see from what the jobs report showed on Friday. Now let's talk about the actual mortgage rates. These are the averages as reported by Mortgage News Daily's survey of national mortgage lenders in the country. The 30-year fixed rate mortgage was at 7.28% to end off the week, quite a bit lower than the average that we saw of 7.52% the week prior. Last week, we saw the FHA fixed rate 30-year mortgage averaging about 6.7%. That's also down from the 7% that it was at the week prior. The 30-year jumbo is at 7.48%, and that's down from 7.68%. The 15-year fixed is at 6.7%, and that's down from 6.9% the week prior. And that 7.6 adjustable rate mortgage backed off of the 52-week high that we talked about last Monday, and that is now at 7.35%, and that's down from 7.55%. We're still at the top 20% of the 52-week range, so that's still pretty high. However, we did see some meaningful decreases here in the 30-year fixed rate mortgage for the country. Why did this happen? Let's go right into it. This is really a function of two main elements last week. First being the Fed's tone and what we talked about on Friday last week with what the Fed had presented, what their forward-looking guidance and outlook looked like. And we had Friday's labor statistics that were issued. And here are the numbers for that. And then we'll talk about why this matters. So U.S. payroll growth and unemployment, this is the first category we'll take a look at. April payroll additions were 175,000 new jobs added. That is well below what the expectation was, which was 240,000 jobs being added. So that is indicating a softer labor market. Unemployment rate went up slightly, 0.1%. We've talked in past episodes how 0.1% could make a big difference right now. So we went from essentially 3.8 up to 3.9 last with this latest data that we're seeing. The economist predictions were at 250,000 for new jobs added, and February and March employment revisions downward by 22,000. So the numbers that we got in February and March were higher initially, and then upon revision, which this data does get revised from time to time, we've seen that come down. The average monthly job additions, if we're looking at the prior 3 months, was 269,000. So here in April, having 175,000 new jobs added, that's significantly lower than even the averages over the past 3 months year to date here in 2024. The average monthly job additions in 2023, for reference, was 251,000 new jobs. Average hourly pay has also increased 7 cents to an average of $34.75 now. So a little bit of an increase on the hourly pay, and yearly wage increases went from 4.1%, and now it's trending at 3.9% wage growth. So let's take into consideration all of these. We've talked in the past also about the fact that the Fed's not only looking at inflation, they are also paying attention to the job market. And as we said before, Jerome Powell mentioned on Wednesday that if there starts to show cracks in the job market and if the unemployment rate starts to tick up, that could be an impetus to cut rates, but it's not necessary. Doesn't necessarily mean that, oh, we have one cooler job report that came in under expectation. Now the Fed's going to cut rates. No. But a case can be made that if this data continues to come in consistent with this and showing a slower and cooler job market, then maybe the Fed may take that into consideration in their monetary policy. Let's take a moment to look at the industries that are seeing the most job openings. And we're just going to start off with healthcare and social assistance. This was the top category. That saw 87,000 jobs added. Transportation and warehousing saw 22,000 jobs added. Retail, 22,000 jobs added. Construction, 9,000 jobs added. Public sector, 8,000 jobs added. And leisure hospitality, 7,000 jobs added. So this is the breakdown of that 175,000 new job addition number. This is if we broke it down by sector, some of the tops. The labor market trends that we want to also identify that were part of this reporting is the participation rate for prime-aged women went from 77.7% up to 78%. So there's a little bit more into the workforce now. The immigrant labor supply also increased. It was 80,000 a month last year, and this year we're looking at about 50,000 added a month, and that's predicted for 2024. So these are immigrants who are coming to this country and part of the labor force. Job vacancies went from 12 million in mid-2022 down to 8.5 million in March of 2023. So there's less jobs that are open if we look at the, some pandemic-related statistics. And when we're talking about that, let's also then talk about layoffs and hiring trends. So the hires and quits in March, they fell below pre-pandemic levels. So that is indicating to us still a rather strong job market, all things considered, even though we're below what the estimates were. Small business hiring intentions have now lowered, and they are at the lowest level since May of 2022. So the small businesses, we're talking about the mom and pops, the small and medium-sized businesses, they are not looking to hire, and there's a tempered expectation for hiring for those types of businesses. And the expected monthly average job growth for the second half of the year is below 100,000. So now from not hitting our expectations have now changed. The immediate response from this was that the treasury yields started to come down, and having this softening in the labor market, as I mentioned before, is paving the way for possible other just cases for the Fed to lower the Fed fund rate. All things considered, it's still a pretty strong job market that we're seeing in the country and still a very strong and resilient economy. What does this have to do with mortgage rates? I'm sure you're asking yourself that question right now. All of these economic indicators are extremely important to us because all of this data is what is getting considered in monetary policy, and we're in an environment right now that the monetary policy of the Fed is what dictates to us and what essentially drives where interest rates go. So as long as we are involved in this dance between what's happening in the labor market, what's happening for inflation, for producer price indexes, for manufacturing, for supply chain, all of these things are in consideration. Therefore, they are important to us because they are certainly affecting what's going on with mortgage rates. I don't want to be able to just tell you what the averages are. I want to give you the data, give you the information so that you can make informed decisions for your own planning purposes and understand a little bit more than just, well, this is where mortgage rates are right now. We're in a very complex time, and there's a lot of things that are hanging in the balance. I think it's extremely important that we spend time to focus on these things and stay in the loop on what's developing, what trends are happening, and maybe we can anticipate a little bit and make good decisions, good judgments for the future, for ourselves, for our clients. That's it for me today. I hope you found this helpful, useful, and informative. I will be back on Friday with a real estate update. I'm sorry we didn't have much real estate news last week. The Fed announcement was very topical, and I wanted to make sure we spent an appropriate amount of time on that last week. But this Friday, I'm excited to share some real estate market updates. Please like, share, subscribe to the show. Reach out to me if you've got any questions or if there's any topics that you would like particularly covered here. In the meantime, make it a great week, and I'll see you on Friday. Take good care.